I wasn't planning to start over, not like this. After everything that happened back home, after what I lost, I needed distance. From people, from questions, from myself. The city seemed like a good place to disappear. No one knew me here. I could blend into the noise, the crowds, the cold. I found the listing by accident, buried deep in a classified site that looked like it hadn't been updated since 2006. Basement studio apartment, furnished, quiet neighborhood, no lease, $400 month. No photos, just an address, 113 Barrow Street, and a phone number. I called, expecting no answer. Instead, a gravelly voice picked up on the second ring. I hesitated. Can I come see it? Don't need to. You want it, I'll meet you there. Bring cash. I should have known better. But I didn't care. At that point, I just wanted walls, a door, somewhere to be alone. I packed my backpack, grabbed my coat, and took the subway to Barrow Street that same afternoon. The house was old. Not charming old, not historical old, just tired. A crumbling Victorian wedged between a boarded-up laundromat and a discount liquor store. The paint peeled in long strips from the siding. The porch sagged like it had given up years ago, and the whole place smelled faintly of damp wood and stale cigarettes. Thomas Bell, the landlord, was waiting on the porch. Tall, thin, with deep bags under his eyes and a cigarette burning down between his fingers. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. He didn't say much, just nodded, handed me a rusted key on a cracked plastic tag, and pointed around the side of the house. Downstairs, last tenant left some furniture. Heat works, usually, don't touch the breaker box. That was it. No paperwork, no deposit, just $400 in cash and a muttered, "Don't cause problems." The stairs to the basement were narrow and uneven. They led to a single, dented metal door with a frosted window I couldn't see through. The key stuck in the lock, and I had to jiggle it hard before the latch finally gave. The apartment was one room. A twin bed, a stained love seat, a table with one chair, a kitchenette with 2 burners, a bar fridge, and a microwave that blinked the wrong time. A tiny bathroom behind a warped wooden door, barely big enough to turn around in. One small window near the ceiling, looking out at ankle-level street grime. It was silent. No street noise, no neighbors, just a quiet so deep I could hear my own heartbeat. And cold. Not just chilly, bone-deep cold. Like the air itself refused to hold heat. I turned on the space heater in the corner. It rattled and hummed and spit out a thin trickle of warmth that barely made a difference. Still, it was mine. I dropped my backpack on the bed, sat on the couch, and told myself it was temporary. Just a place to land. 1 month, maybe 2. Then I'd figure things out. That first night, I barely slept. Not because of the cold, though it never really went away, but because of the silence. It was suffocating. I kept listening for sounds I was used to, passing cars, upstairs neighbors, the hum of city life. Instead, I got nothing. At around 3 a.m., I thought I heard something shift in the wall behind the bed. A soft creak, maybe. Then what sounded like a faint scratch, scratch, scratch. Not loud, not persistent. Just enough to make me sit up, heart racing. I told myself it was the pipes. Old houses creak. Rats in the walls, maybe. Nothing to worry about. But I didn't sleep after that. In the morning, I tried to ask Thomas about the heater. When I knocked on his door upstairs, there was no answer. I called his number. Straight to voicemail. I gave up and bought a second blanket from a thrift store. Spent the rest of the day trying to ignore how tired I was, how heavy the air felt in the apartment. That night, the scratching came back. Louder this time. More deliberate. Like fingernails on wood. I sat up in bed, holding my breath, staring at the wall, then nothing. Silence again. I stayed awake until the sun started bleeding through the window. On day 3, I noticed the thermostat didn't work. It was stuck at 62. No matter what I turned it to, the place never got warmer. The floor was like ice. My fingers were stiff in the morning. I called Thomas again, no answer. That night, while brushing my teeth, I heard a click from the far wall. Not a pipe, not a creak. A mechanical click like a latch. When I walked over, I noticed something I swear hadn't been there before. A small square outline near the floor, behind the love seat. A metal latch. A crawlspace? I didn't touch it. Not then. I just stared at it for a long time, wondering how I could have missed it. Then, I moved the couch back and tried to sleep. I told myself it was just the house settling. That's what people say, right? Old houses make noise. Wood expands. Pipes knock. The wind sneaks in through cracks you can't see. That's all it was. I kept saying that over and over. Until the 4th night. I was lying in bed, fully dressed under 2 blankets, staring at the ceiling. The heater was wheezing in the corner, spitting out lukewarm air like it hated me personally. My breath fogged in front of my face. I hadn't gotten more than 2 or 3 hours of sleep any night since I'd moved in. Every time I started to drift off, I'd hear something, just enough to jolt me awake again. But that night it was different. I heard the scratching again, but this time it wasn't just one place, it moved. At first, it was to the left of the bed. A faint, steady scritch, 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 like something was clawing at the wall just beneath the surface. Then it stopped. Silence. Then, from the foot of the bed, closer, more urgent. Scritch, scritch. Pause. Scritch, scritch, scritch. My skin prickled. I held my breath, convinced that if I moved even a muscle, whatever it was would know I was listening. Then it stopped again. And then it came from the wall behind my head. I jumped up so fast I kicked the blanket off the bed. The scratching stopped instantly, like it had been waiting for me to react. The room was dead silent again. The heater rattled. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the table, wrapped in a coat and scarf, staring at the wall like it was going to move. I even put my ear against it, trying to hear something. Nothing. At 6 a.m., I gave up and went out. Found a 24-hour diner and sat there for hours, nursing burnt coffee, just trying to stay awake. I had work to do, a life to rebuild, but all I could think about was that noise. Later that afternoon, I ran into Thomas Bell. I was coming back from the corner store with a bag of canned soup and a roll of duct tape. Don't ask. I was trying to seal the draft near the door. He was on the porch again, smoking. Same coat, same look like he hadn't slept in a week. I hesitated, then forced myself to speak. Hey, quick question. Do you ever hear anything weird down there? He squinted at me. What do you mean? Like scratching in the walls at night? He exhaled smoke slowly, then shrugged. Old house, rats maybe, or pipes. Don't worry about it. It moves, I said. It's not just one place, it's like it's following me. Thomas blinked, like I'd said something wrong. Then, without another word, he stubbed out his cigarette and went back inside. No follow-up, no reassurance, no suggestion to check for mice. Just nothing. That night, it got worse. I went to bed around midnight, exhausted and shivering. I'd left a light on in the kitchen just to make the place feel a little less claustrophobic. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of scratching again, but now it wasn't just on the walls. It was under the floor. I could hear it clearly, something moving beneath the floorboards, slow and steady, not scurrying, not the way rats move. This was deliberate, almost like dragging. I sat up, heart pounding. The floor creaked faintly as I shifted my weight, and the moment I moved, the scratching stopped. Just like the night before. I waited. 5 minutes passed, 10. Then, from the far side of the room, I heard a new sound. A soft thump, like something dropping onto the floor, followed by silence. I stood up slowly. The air felt heavy, cold, pressed against my skin like damp fabric. I walked toward the source of the sound, the wall near the crawlspace hatch I'd noticed days ago. I hadn't touched it since, hadn't even looked at it. Now, standing there, I noticed something new. The couch I'd pushed back to cover the hatch. It had moved. Not much, just an inch, maybe 2, but enough that I knew I hadn't done it. I froze. My mind started racing. Maybe I bumped it earlier. Maybe I moved it in my sleep. Maybe I'm just tired. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. I didn't open the hatch. I just stood there for a long time, staring at it. Then I pushed the couch back firmly into place, turned every light on in the apartment, and sat at the table with my back to the wall until the sun came up. I called Thomas again that morning. No answer. I left a message. "Hey, I need you to check the crawlspace. Something's not right down here. I think someone might have broken in. Or something's living under the floor. Please call me back." He never did. By the 6th night, I was losing it. I'd stopped sleeping altogether. My eyes were bloodshot. My thoughts were fuzzy. I kept forgetting small things. Whether I'd eaten, where I'd put my phone, what day it was. And every night the scratching got worse. Now, it came in patterns. Short bursts, rhythmic. Sometimes it would pause, then start again, like it was waiting to see if I'd respond. One night, I clapped my hands loudly just to break the tension, and the scratching stopped immediately. But what truly broke me was the whisper. It was just after 3 a.m., and I was lying on the floor with my pillow against the heater, trying to warm up. The scratching had been going for nearly half an hour, always moving, never repeating. And then it went silent. And in the silence, I heard it. A voice. So faint I thought I imagined it. "Open." That was it. One word. Almost too quiet to hear, but it came from the wall, right where the hatch was. I sat bolt upright, blood pounding in my ears. I didn't move for the rest of the night. The next morning, I made a decision. I went upstairs and knocked on Thomas Bell's door. No answer. I knocked harder. Still nothing. I tried the knob. Locked. I went around to the back of the house, hoping maybe he was outside, but the backyard was empty. No car, no sign of him. Just a sagging deck and a patch of dirt where grass used to be. I didn't see him again after that. The next 2 nights blurred together. I stopped checking the time. I kept the lights on. I drank coffee like water. I talked to myself, just to hear a human voice. And the sounds, they kept coming. Scratching, thumps, a creaking that seemed to echo from inside the walls. And once, just before dawn, I swear I heard breathing. Not mine, not above me, from inside the crawlspace. I haven't opened it. Not yet, but I keep staring at it, like it's daring me, calling me. And the whisper? It came again last night. Clearer this time. Let me out. By the 7th day, I was a wreck. I'd stopped checking the weather because it didn't matter. Inside the apartment, it was always cold. I'd stopped eating proper meals too, just heat and eat stuff from the corner store, eaten with numb fingers while sitting fully clothed in bed. I was surviving, barely. And still, I refused to leave. Something about that place, I don't know. It wrapped around me like smoke. I kept telling myself I just needed one more good night's sleep, one more solid rest, and I'd feel better, clearer, stronger. Instead, I found the note. It happened in the most mundane way. I dropped my phone. I was cleaning, or trying to. The apartment had started to smell stale, like wet drywall and sweat. So I opened the window near the ceiling, even though it barely opened, grabbed an old rag, and wiped down the surfaces. When I reached up to dust the corner of the wall near the heater, I accidentally knocked my phone off the table. It slid under the old metal vent cover by the floor. I cursed, dropped to my knees, and pulled off the grate to reach in. That's when I saw it, not the phone, but something behind it. A small, crumpled scrap of yellowed paper. At first, I thought it was trash. Just old debris wedged in the duct. But something about the way it was folded caught my eye. It was deliberate, careful, like someone had tucked it away on purpose. I pulled it out, unfolded it. There were only 4 words written in pencil. All caps, shaky handwriting. Don't open the crawlspace. That's it. No signature, no date. Just that one chilling instruction, written in a hand that looked rushed, desperate. I stared at it for a long time. Then I looked up at the wall, and I realized something. The hatch looked different. It sounds insane, I know, but I swear it. The small metal door in the wall, the one I'd been ignoring, pretending didn't matter. It was more visible now, like the shadows had shifted, like it had come forward. I walked over and stood in front of it. It was a square, maybe 1.5 feet wide, painted the same off-white as the wall, but the paint was chipped around the edges. The metal latch was rusted. It looked old, older than the rest of the room, older than the building, maybe. I crouched down, held my breath, put my hand near the latch, and felt cold. Not room temperature cold, not it's winter cold, but the kind of unnatural chill that makes your bones ache, that makes your breath catch in your throat. The kind of cold that doesn't belong. I pulled my hand back, fast. I sat on the couch holding the note, trying to make sense of it. Someone had been here before me. Someone who felt compelled to hide this message in the wall. Someone who knew, who had lived in this same space, maybe even heard the same scratching, felt the same dread, and decided to leave behind this one warning. Don't open the crawlspace. So simple, so specific. That night, I didn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't just the noise keeping me up. It was the feeling that something was watching me. Not through the window, not through the door, but from inside the apartment. From the walls. From behind the hatch. It was like the room had eyes. I sat at the kitchen table with the lights on and stared at the crawlspace hatch for hours. Once, around 2:40 a.m., I thought I saw the latch move. Just a twitch. Barely perceptible. But I saw it. I stood up and approached. Carefully. Slowly. My shadow stretched across the floor like a living thing. When I reached the hatch, I pressed my ear to it. And I heard breathing. Shallow, raspy, like someone struggling to stay quiet. I jerked back, my whole body locked up. I wanted to run, leave everything behind and bolt up those stairs barefoot in the freezing air. But I didn't. I couldn't. It was like something held me in place, like the cold itself was gripping my legs. I backed away slowly, sat on the bed, pulled the blankets around me, and didn't move until daylight. The next morning, I went to the library. I needed answers, something, anything. I looked up the address, 113 Barrow Street. There wasn't much, just a few old property records. The house had changed owners a dozen times. Nothing unusual, no news articles, no police reports. But I found a single note on a forum buried in a thread about haunted buildings in the city. It wasn't even a full post, just a comment. Barrow St. Basement. Don't rent it, not worth it. Cold never leaves. That was all. No username, no replies. But it felt like confirmation. I printed it out and tacked it to the wall next to the note I found in the vent. 2 warnings, 2 messages from people who'd been where I was now. And I still didn't leave. I wish I could explain why. I think part of me needed to know, needed to understand, needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. That night, I brought my sleeping bag into the bathroom, the only room without an external wall. I locked the door, turned on the light, and tried to sleep in the tub. It didn't help, because even with the door locked, I still heard the whisper, clearer this time. "You found it?" You'd be surprised how loud water can be when everything else is silent. At first, it was just the hum of old plumbing, the kind of sound you tune out after a few days in an apartment like mine. But then it changed, it shifted, became more rhythmic, more human. It started speaking. I didn't notice it right away. That's what scares me the most, how easily the mind adapts to madness. The first time I really heard it, I was washing my hands. It was the middle of the night, maybe 3 or 4 a.m. I had just woken up, or maybe I hadn't slept at all. The days were blending. My reflection looked like someone else. I turned the tap on. The pipes groaned, and then I heard it. "Hey!" So quiet, I thought it came from the hallway. I turned the tap off. Silence. I turned it on again, leaned closer. "Can you hear me?" I yanked my hands back, water splashing on the mirror. My heart was hammering. I stood there, staring at the sink like it might speak again. It didn't, just the hiss of air in the pipes. But I knew what I heard. I didn't tell anyone. Who would I tell? Thomas was gone. My phone barely got reception in the basement, and even if it did, what could I say? "Hey, I think the pipes are whispering to me." They'd lock me up. So I kept it to myself. I watched, I listened, and the more I listened, the more it happened. Fragments, sentences, please. "Are you still there? Please don't leave. Come closer, I'm cold." And eventually, "I know your name." That one broke me. Because it didn't say, "Hey," or "you." It said, "Ethan." It said my name, whispered through the pipes, carried by water and metal, like it had traveled through the bones of the house itself. No one knew I was here. I hadn't given my real name to the landlord. I hadn't spoken it aloud since I arrived. And yet the voice in the plumbing, it knew. That's when the mirrors started fogging. It didn't make sense. There was no steam. I hadn't used hot water. The heater barely worked. And yet, every morning, the bathroom mirror was fogged up, even if I hadn't touched the sink. At first, I thought it was moisture from outside, but the window was sealed shut. There were no vents, no airflow, and sometimes, when I looked closer, I saw marks in the fog. Not words, not drawings, just shapes. Finger streaks. Like someone had pressed their hand to the mirror from the other side. I tried cleaning it. I tried keeping the light on all night. I even tried covering the mirror with a towel. Every morning, the towel was on the floor, and the mirror was fogged again. It became routine. Fogged mirror. Scratching at night. Whispers in the pipes. Repeat. I felt like I was being softened, like meat left out too long. Whatever was in that place, it was patient. It didn't want to scare me away. It wanted me to stay. I tried recording it. I dug out an old voice recorder app on my phone, propped it near the sink one night and left it running. In the morning, I played it back. At first, nothing. Just ambient room tone. Then the tap hissed on its own. I don't remember turning it. And underneath the hiss, buried in static, I heard it again. "Open it." "He's listening." "Ethan." That last one wasn't whispered. It was spoken. Firm, calm, like someone standing just out of frame. I deleted the file, but I can still hear it in my head. That same day, I made a decision. I grabbed the note I found, "Don't open the crawlspace," folded it back up, and tucked it into my wallet. I needed the reminder close, because despite everything, the noise, the cold, the whispers, I was starting to feel curious. Not curious like, oh, I want to explore. Curious like, I needed to know. What was behind the hatch? What was making the noise? Why did it know my name? Every instinct screamed at me not to touch it, and yet I found myself drifting closer to that wall every night, sitting near it, listening, just waiting. Then something changed. It was a Tuesday. Snow had fallen outside. I could see it through the slit of a window above the couch. I hadn't left the apartment in 2 days. I turned on the shower. Cold water, always cold. I was trying to scrub away the feeling, if not the temperature. And then, for the first time, the voice didn't speak. It laughed. Just once. A soft, wet chuckle deep in the pipes. I turned the water off, heart pounding, and in the sudden silence I heard the mirror crack. It was a hairline fracture, right through the center, from the top corner down to the bottom. I didn't touch it, didn't move, just stared at my reflection, warped and broken. My eyes looked wrong, hollow, like I was seeing someone else's face. And in the fogged section of the mirror, in a fresh streak through the condensation, were 5 clear fingerprints, smaller than mine. That night, I blocked the bathroom door with a chair. I slept, or tried to, with the lights on and a kitchen knife under my pillow. I told myself I wouldn't go near the wall, and I didn't. But that didn't stop the voice, because it was no longer just in the pipes. It was inside my head. "You're almost ready. Начало формы." I wasn't looking for anything. I was just moving the furniture again, trying to stay busy, to keep my hands occupied, to stop listening. That's when I found the tape. It was behind the shelf, wedged between the wood and the wall, in the dust and spider webs. A black VHS cassette with no label, no markings, just a faint scratch along the edge, like it had been handled roughly. I don't own a VCR, but I remembered seeing one upstairs, in the storage closet by the stairs, half buried under paint cans and a broken vacuum. Thomas had let me poke around when I first moved in. He said, "Take whatever, I'm not coming down there." So I went up, rummaged through the mess, and found it. A beat-up gray VCR, heavy, smelled like attic dust, but when I plugged it in, it blinked red. Still worked. I set it on the table in the basement, plugged it into the small TV that came with the apartment, pushed the tape in. It took a second. The screen flickered to static, then a black frame, and then a face. Not mine. A man, mid-30s maybe, pale, unshaven, wearing the same couch-stained hoodie I found in the closet when I moved in. He was sitting where I was sitting, in the same chair, same wall behind him, and he was sweating. "If you're watching this," he said, "I don't know if you're real." He looked over his shoulder. The camera shook slightly like he was holding it in one hand. "This is for whoever comes next, I guess. I don't know how long I've been down here, time doesn't work right anymore." I leaned in closer. "It started with the scratching," he said. "You probably heard it too, then the pipes, the whispers, and the mirror." He trailed off, eyes glassy. I saw myself blink when I wasn't moving. He turned the camera toward the mirror in the bathroom, cracked just like mine. Fogged. Someone had wiped a single word in the condensation. "Stay." He turned the camera back. "There's something behind the crawlspace." I opened it. "You probably will too. You shouldn't." I thought I could handle it. I thought it was just a hole in the wall. He leaned closer. It's not. The tape cut briefly, static, then resumed. Now he was in the kitchen. Daylight was pouring through the window, but his face was hollow, like he hadn't slept in weeks. It talks to me now, not just in the pipes. It waits until I close my eyes. Then it whispers things about me. Things no one should know, things I forgot I ever did. Another cut? This time the man is standing by the hatch. It's open. The crawlspace is dark, the air behind it swirling like fog. He holds the camera out, just barely, and it captures movement. Something shifts in the shadows. Quick, subtle, wrong. He pulls the camera back fast. It's cold. It's so cold in there. It's like the cold isn't from the weather. It's from below. He looks into the lens. Whispers, "If you hear it call your name, you're already too late." Then the final cut. He's sitting on the bed, lights off. Only the red record light on the camera glows. His voice is shaking. "I'm not getting out. I think I've always been here. I think this place, it doesn't just trap you, it erases you." A pause. "You'll start to forget things, little things, then big things, then yourself." He looks into the lens one last time. A long, desperate stare. "If you're smart, you'll leave now. If you can't, burn it. Burn the whole place." Then a sound in the background. A click. The sound of the crawlspace hatch creaking open. The man looks toward the noise, eyes wide, and the tape cuts to black. I sat frozen for a long time. I couldn't move. The screen buzzed with static, the VCR still humming. The room felt colder than it had all week. The air was heavy, damp, like a basement before a storm. I rewound the tape and watched it again. And again. Each time I caught new details, the way the shadows behind him moved, the way the whispers on the audio didn't match his mouth, the way the temperature in the room dropped just as he said, "Burn it." That night, I dreamed I was in the crawlspace. It was bigger than it should have been. Endless. The walls were wet stone, and I could hear water dripping in the distance. My own footsteps echoed like I was walking on hollow ground. And far, far ahead I saw a figure, kneeling, back turned. Same hoodie. He turned around slowly. It was me. I woke up gasping, clutching the sheets. My breath hung in the air like smoke. The tape still sat in the VCR, now ejected, as if the machine had pushed it out on its own. I didn't touch it. Not that day. Not the next. But I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. "If you hear it call your name, you're already too late." It had already happened, more than once. And I knew, somehow, instinctively, that the crawlspace had opened again. I didn't need to look. I could feel it. I didn't go upstairs for a long time. Not after the tape, not after the dream. I stayed below ground like something wounded, barely moved. I lived in the corners of my apartment, away from the hatch, away from the mirrors. I even unplugged the VCR, wrapped the tape in a towel, and shoved it into the closet behind a stack of books I never unpacked. But eventually I needed to breathe. And I needed to know if I was alone. The house groaned when I stepped out into the hallway. It always did. The wooden floors bowed slightly under my feet, like they remembered every step of everyone who'd ever walked them. I climbed the stairs slowly, like I was trespassing. The air changed the higher I went. Not warmer, exactly, but drier, more brittle. The kind of dry you feel in your throat and eyes. I remembered there were 2 other apartments in the house. One on the 2nd floor, one on the top. I had never seen or heard anyone, not once. Until I reached the landing, and the door opened before I could knock. She looked like someone from a different century. Tall, thin, wrapped in a shawl even though the hallway was still and stale. Her hair was white and long, braided loosely down her back. Her eyes were watery but sharp, and she was already speaking before I said a word. "He didn't tell you, did he?" Her voice was raspy, dry, like old paper. I blinked. Sorry. "The landlord, Thomas, he never tells anyone. Just lets them move in, quiet ones, alone, like you." I swallowed. "You know about the basement?" She tilted her head. "I know about the house." She opened the door wider. "Come in, Ethan." I froze. "I didn't tell you my name." "You didn't have to." Her apartment was full of clocks. Dozens of them. Big, small, ticking, silent. None of them matched. None of them told the right time. A dozen hours playing over and over again in a ballet of chaos. The sound was unbearable at first, until it faded into the background. She motioned for me to sit. I did. "You've seen the Crawlspace," she said. Not a question. I nodded. "I haven't opened it." She gave me a look. "It opens on its own." I didn't respond. "They all think they'll be different," she said. "The people who come. They think it's just a room, just a place, but the house knows." I leaned forward. "What is it?" She didn't answer at first, just stared into her tea, untouched and cold. Then she said, "The house breathes through the basement." I didn't know what to say. She looked up again, eyes sharp now. "There was a boy, before you. Name was Tyler or Trevor. I don't remember. He was sweet, quiet, like you. He told me about the scratching, the whispering, the cold. I told him to leave. He didn't." "What happened to him?" "He vanished." I waited for more, but she only stared at the floor, as if watching some old memory pass under her feet. "And before him?" She chuckled, not warmly. "There's always a before. I've lived here 36 years, seen too many faces come and go, but the ones from the basement don't leave the way others do. They just disappear." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Why don't you leave?" I asked her. She looked at me like I was a child. "This house let me stay. I don't disturb it. I don't ask questions. I stay upstairs, away from the cold, away from the crawlspace." "But it's just a hatch," I said, more to myself than to her. "Is it?" she whispered. "Have you looked inside?" I shook my head. "Don't," she said, "because once you do, it sees you, not just hears, not just speaks, sees." I sat in silence, the ticking of clocks filling every second. Then she said something that still won't leave my head. "Have you checked your mirror today?" I blinked. "No." "You should. You'll see it's not you anymore." When I stood to leave, she didn't say goodbye. She followed me to the door, paused in the frame, and said, "It wants you to open it. That's all it ever wants. Don't give it what it wants." Then, softer, "Get out while you still know your name." I returned to the basement like someone walking back into a dream. And she was right. I checked the mirror. It was fogged, as always. But this time, when I wiped it, my reflection didn't move. For a full second, it stood still, watching me. Smiling, начало формы. They say curiosity killed the cat, but they never talk about what curiosity does to people. Slowly, quietly, like frost creeping into your bones while you're too numb to notice. By the 8th night, I stopped resisting. It was a Thursday. The light outside was gray and damp, like the sky had been soaked and wrung out. I hadn't slept more than 10 hours total in the past week. My thoughts came in fragments now. Sentences without endings. Rooms that didn't look quite right. The tape, the mirror, the voice in the pipes, and the crawlspace. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I walked past that part of the wall, it was like something pulled at me. Not physically, but in my mind, like gravity, like hunger. That morning, I finally moved the couch aside for good. The hatch was just as I remembered. Square, metal, painted to match the wall. The latch looked ancient, flaking rust, a faint oily sheen that didn't belong. I touched it. It was ice cold, as always. I paused. I thought about the woman upstairs, about the note, about the whisper in the pipes that said my name. If you open it, it sees you. But I was already seen. I clicked the latch. It came undone with a dry metallic snap. I pulled. The hatch opened. Behind it was nothing. Just darkness. At first, I thought it was a shallow recess, a maintenance gap maybe, but when I grabbed a flashlight and leaned in, I realized it went deeper, much deeper. It was a tunnel. Rough concrete walls, barely wide enough for my shoulders, about 4 feet tall. It angled slightly downward, disappearing into blackness. And it was cold. Colder than outside, colder than logic. The kind of cold that made your teeth ache just breathing it in. I should have stopped there. But I didn't. I crawled inside. The floor was dusty. The air tasted stale, metallic. Every sound I made echoed, soft, muted, but present. Like the concrete was listening. I kept moving forward, flashlight shaking in my hand. I don't know how far I went, maybe 15 feet, maybe 50. There were no markings, no pipes, just that low, narrow tunnel carved into the foundation like it had always been there. Then I saw the room. A small, square chamber. Bare concrete. No furniture. No exit. But in the middle of the floor, footprints. Not mine. Dried into the dust, like someone had stood there, barefoot, facing the entrance, then vanished. I shone my light around the room. The walls were covered in scratches. Hundreds, thousands. Like fingernails had raked the concrete again and again, some shallow, some deep enough to catch the light. And in the far corner, a handprint. Small, red. Fresh? No, that couldn't be. It wasn't wet, but it was darker than the dust, like the wall had bled through. The cold tightened around me like a vice. I couldn't breathe. Something whispered behind me. "You're home." I turned so fast I hit my head on the ceiling. My flashlight slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. Everything went black. I don't remember crawling out. I only remember light, faint yellow, from my apartment. I must have backed out blindly, heart hammering, hands shaking. When I stood in my living room again, I slammed the hatch shut and backed away from it, dragging the couch in front of it like a shield. I collapsed onto the bed. My fingers were trembling, my ears were ringing. But worst of all, I realized something was off. My apartment had changed. Not drastically, not enough for someone else to notice. But I knew. The mug I left on the table was in the sink. The lamp near the bed had been turned off. I never turned it off anymore. My bag was unzipped slightly. The TV was unplugged. And on the floor, near the heater, were wet footprints. They led from the hatch to the bathroom and stopped. No return prints, no trail. Just a set of small bare footprints that vanished at the door. I didn't open the door for hours. When I did, the mirror was fogged. But this time there was no reflection. Just the empty bathroom. I wiped the mirror clean. And behind me, for a split second, I saw someone standing in the hallway. Then gone. I don't know how long I sat there. The apartment felt like it was breathing, expanding and contracting, like the concrete itself was pulsing beneath me. I kept hearing small sounds, not loud, not dramatic, just subtle. Keys moving on the table. A cabinet closing. A breath that wasn't mine. The hatch is still shut, but the footprints are still there. And every time I blink, I swear they get closer to my bed. The first time it happened, I thought I was dreaming. I opened my eyes and found myself sitting on the kitchen floor, back against the fridge, lights off. No memory of how I got there. The microwave clock blinked 3:44 a.m. I stood up slowly, every bone in my body stiff and aching. My mouth was dry. My hands were dirty, as if I'd been crawling. And when I turned around, the hatch was open again. I remember screaming. Not loud, not human. Just a soft, broken noise from deep inside my chest. Then I passed out. The next morning, the hatch was closed. Couch pushed back. Just like before. Except this time, I didn't remember doing it. And that was when the time loss began. It started small. I'd make tea, sit down, blink, and it was gone. Cup emptied, cold. Hours passed. I'd wake up in the shower, water still running, my clothes in a pile I didn't remember taking off. Sometimes I'd find myself staring at the hatch, door open or closed, I couldn't tell anymore, and I'd have no idea how long I'd been standing there. But worse than that were the objects. The first was a pocket watch. It was under my pillow when I woke up. Old brass. The glass cracked. Inside, it didn't tell time. The hands spun counterclockwise. Fast. Unnaturally fast. I never owned a pocket watch. The second was a photograph. Black and white, curled at the corners. A woman standing in front of the house. My house, but older. Damaged. Fire marks on the siding. And the woman, her face was scratched out. Not blurred, scratched, with a fingernail. Then the third item, a wooden toy horse, small, carved, painted red, but the paint was flaking. It rocked slightly on its own when I touched it. I found it under my bed, alongside a small wool blanket, and a child's shoe. I don't have children. I've never had children. I brought all the items to the table and stared at them for hours. Each one felt like it had weight beyond its size, like memory clung to them, like they belonged to the house, and now the house was trying to give them back. I stopped sleeping, not just from fear, but because I didn't trust what I'd do when unconscious. The dreams were no longer dreams, they were journeys. Always the same. I walked through tunnels under the house. Endless, shifting. Sometimes dry stone, sometimes dirt, sometimes tile. Sometimes flesh. And always the same figure walked ahead of me. Tall, pale, moving slowly. I could never catch up. But I knew I was following myself. One morning, I woke up in the hallway. Back against the front door. Keys gone. Phone dead. Barefoot. The sun wasn't up yet. The street was silent. And on the wall beside me, drawn in charcoal, was a rough sketch of a door. Not a real one. The hatch. And beneath it a single word. Open. I started writing notes to myself. Leaving post-its on the fridge. Do not sleep. Block the crawlspace. Do not touch the watch. But by the next morning, some were missing. Others rewritten. One simply said, "It's safer inside." I didn't write that one. The woman upstairs stopped answering her door. I knocked every day. Sometimes I thought I heard shuffling. Sometimes I thought I saw her silhouette in the peephole. But the clocks had stopped. All of them. Frozen at 4:06. Then came the reflection. Not in the mirror. I had long since covered that with a blanket. But in the TV screen, unplugged, off. I was walking past it when I saw myself, already standing in front of it. For just a second. Like the delay in a bad live stream. My last moment of clarity came when I found the notebook. Under the floorboards. My handwriting. Pages and pages of thoughts, entries, drawings. Except I didn't remember writing any of it. One line repeated again and again. "It lives in the cold. It wears your name." I should have left, but I don't think I could anymore. The house had closed its hand around me, and I was slipping through my own fingers. Koniec formy. I woke up with the front door key in my hand. No memory of how I got it. No idea what time it was. My watch had stopped. My phone was dead. Every clock in the apartment blinked the same thing. 0:15 sand. Like the house had picked a moment and refused to move past it. I was still in my clothes from the day before, or maybe longer. The floor was freezing. The mirror in the bathroom was smashed. The hatch closed. But I didn't trust it. I never trusted it anymore. Something inside me screamed, "Get out!" So I tried. I grabbed my backpack, didn't pack anything. Just the tape, the notebook. I shoved it all inside and went straight to the door. But the door didn't open. It was like someone was holding it shut from the other side. I tried harder. It didn't budge. I kicked it. Nothing. I went for the window. It was small, high on the wall, street level. I pulled a chair over, climbed up, pressed my face to the glass. The street outside was wrong. Still, empty, like a photograph. No snow, no clouds, no people. No time. Just nothing. I tapped the glass, then banged. It didn't sound like glass. It sounded like concrete. Panic hit me like ice water. I stumbled back, nearly knocking the chair over, and grabbed my phone. It had charged a little overnight, maybe enough to call for help. No signal. Not even emergency calls. But that wasn't the worst part. The date. It said, 2 years ago. I blinked, reopened the screen. Same thing. I went to the calendar. It was empty, no events, nothing scheduled. The whole year was blank. Just a red circle around February 13th labeled, "Come home." I didn't put that there. I went upstairs. The hallway was dark, lights dead. The door to the woman's apartment was wide open. Inside, dust, silence. All the clocks were gone. The furniture covered in sheets, like no one had lived there in decades. And on the wall, written in chalk, was a message. "The house breathes below." And beneath it, "He let you in." I ran. Tried the front door. Locked. Tried the windows upstairs. They looked out into black. Not night. Absence. I ran back down. Heart hammering, vision blurry. The lights in the basement flickered when I got back inside, then died. And then the whispers returned. Not in the pipes this time. In the walls. Everywhere. Soft, overlapping. A dozen voices, 100, all around me. Calling. "Come down. It's warmer inside. We've missed you." And, over all of them, one clear voice, deeper, slower, speaking from just beyond the hatch. "You know where you belong." I screamed. Not out of fear. Out of recognition. Because the voice was mine. I tore open the fridge. All the food was gone. Empty wrappers. Molded containers. Spoiled milk, expired in 2023. I opened my notebook. Pages had been rewritten. Entries I didn't remember writing. Or maybe I had. They read like confessions. Like pleas. One said, "The door doesn't open because you're already inside." Another, "You don't leave the cold leaves you." I tore it apart. Page by page. Set it on fire in the sink. But the flames were cold. They didn't burn. They just whispered. I turned to the couch. The hatch was open again. And in front of it, footprints. Not wet this time, just ash. leading out of the crawlspace toward my bed. Then, stopping, I sat down, not because I was tired, but because I couldn't move anymore. Like the house had decided I was done trying, like it had waited for me to exhaust myself, and now it could settle in. The whispers faded, the lights dimmed, the clock stayed frozen, and outside the window nothing moved, just stillness. Forever 4:06. I was home. If you're reading this, I hope you never find the room. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how long I've been here. The clocks are meaningless. The windows lie. My mind flickers like an old bulb, sometimes clear, sometimes not. But this is the last thing I'll write, because tonight, I'm going in. I haven't slept in days. Not truly. I close my eyes and I wake up somewhere else. Sometimes the hallway, sometimes the bathroom floor. Once, I woke up halfway inside the crawlspace, knees scraped, dust in my mouth. I don't remember crawling in, but the room remembers me. It breathes. It waits. And now it's calling. Not with voices. With silence so heavy it pushes behind my eyes. With cold so deep I feel it in my teeth. With time that unwinds around me like thread. I tried to resist, I did. I bolted the hatch, I rearranged furniture. I ripped out the pages from my notebook. I carved warnings into the wall. But every morning I woke to find the hatch open again, and the word "come" scratched into the floor. Deeper, clearer, more deliberate. Not a threat. Not even a command. An invitation. I think I was always meant to go. Like the house was built around this room. Or maybe the room built the house around itself. I've begun to think it's not a basement at all. Not in the way we think of basements. It's an organ, a mouth. And it's hungry. Tonight I stop fighting. Tonight I bring the flashlight, the notebook, and the watch, still ticking backwards, faster than ever. I bring nothing else. No one will come looking for me. That's the curse of the basement. It picks people who won't be missed. Quiet ones. Alone. As I write this, I'm sitting by the hatch. The footprints are back. More than before. Some are mine. Some smaller. Some barefoot, some broken, some clawed. They gather around the hatch like pilgrims. And from the tunnel below there's a sound. Not scratching. Not a whisper. A slow, steady rhythm. Like breathing. But bigger. Wider. Like something asleep, waiting to wake. I shine the flashlight inside. The tunnel is darker than usual. But I see the room. It's waiting. It always has been. 01:52. I step inside. 01:56. The walls pulse. The air is wet, like inside lungs. I crawl for what feels like forever. The flashlight flickers. I hear movement behind me, but when I turn, there's nothing. Just the walls. Closer now. And colder. So cold. Like memory frozen solid. Like time turned to ice. 02:00. I reach the room. It's bigger than I remember. Or maybe I'm smaller now. I count 3 human shapes in the corners. They're not moving. One is curled up like a child. One is kneeling. One is standing, but there's no face. Just a smooth surface, as if someone forgot to finish making it. I don't approach, because something else is in the middle. It's not a person. Not quite. It's tall, thin, and wrong. It doesn't move, but I know it sees me. Not with eyes, with awareness. It knows I'm here. It's always known. And it speaks without speaking. It doesn't ask me to come closer. It reminds me that I never left. I was always part of this room. I was always the last piece. The one who wrote. The one who remembered. The one who surrendered. It tells me I can rest now, that I've done my part, that others will come. And when they do, they'll find this notebook. And maybe they'll understand. Or maybe they'll ignore it like I did. Maybe you already have.